Welcome, everybody. How you doing? Doug Berry here. All right, we got some serious news stories going on right now. Number one, you know about Helene, the hurricane that hit Florida and worked its way up through several states, Georgia, Tennessee, South Carolina, North Carolina. Pretty serious devastation. Death toll as of now, right before I started to start this live, is in the neighborhood of over 100 people, with still many missing. So serious situation there. We're going to talk about that in another video coming up soon, but just wanted to address the reality of no matter what we do in this world, there are things just are out of our control, like what happens in nature, what God allows in nature. But we can alleviate some of that by the steps that we take to be better prepared. So we want to be thinking about and praying about, if this was us, if these sorts of things happen to us, like right now they're talking about over 2 million people are out of power. What would we do if that were to happen to us? And it's not just the areas where entire neighborhoods or small towns have been flooded or washed away. The power problem affects many other people who maybe were not flooded or didn't have any real damage, but power lines are still down. So what steps can we take to be better prepared when it comes to even things such as power? BRC, we always encourage you to take steps necessary now. Worst time to start digging a well is when you're thirsty. So worst time to start looking at backup power, food or water filters, and some of these items that we encourage for natural preparation or even spiritual preparation is when the crisis is upon you. It's best to start now. So keep that in mind. Go to brcoalition.com and check out the items that we have right now. We've got a free go bag checklist, free go bag checklist you can download. This is a great thing to get started. Go to brcoalition.com. See it there on the screen. The link is in the bottom, the information below. So go out there, get that free download, and start working towards better preparation. Okay, let's get right to the main thing we wanted to talk about, and that is the Longshoremen Union strike that is scheduled to take place at 12:01 tomorrow morning, October 1st, 12:01 a.m. They're talking about between 45 to 47,000. The numbers are even as high as over 80,000 members of this union. The ILA, this is the International Longshoremen's Association. They've been in discussions with the maritime group that basically deals with our shipping, everything that goes in and out of our ports on the East Coast and the Gulf Coast. They're talking about a strike that will shut down everything except a handful of small independent non-union ports all up and down the East Coast and the Gulf of Mexico, from Maine to Texas. Check this on the screen. You see the work stoppage scheduled to begin 12:01 a.m. on Tuesday, October 1st, 2024. Could affect 85,000 International Longshore Association members and 36 ports handling over 40% of U.S. containerized goods. The strike comes at a critical time for ocean supply chains, which have already experienced significant disruptions in 2024 due to geopolitical conflicts such as the Red Sea crisis and natural disasters like the drought in the Panama Canal. These factors have contributed to a 300% increase in average spot freight rates from the Far East to the U.S. East Coast between December 2023 and early July 2024. So the reality of this cannot be taken too seriously. Now, how we respond to it, not with anxiety. We say this all the time in BRC. I say it all the time. It's not about being anxious. It's not about anxiety, but it's about urgency. The reality that we have things going on in the world that we should be urgently preparing for, thinking about, and taking the right steps. Whether you're buying gold and silver, which is great to do, whether you're, if you can, whether you're investing in, the prepping materials we talk about, food, water, medical, shelter, defense, these types of things, awesome, great things to be doing. Whether you're just taking those steps to maybe look at moving, getting in a better location, maybe going to a good, solid red state. I don't like Tennessee, for example, right? Places like this, things like this to be thinking about. All right, make sure that we are looking at these things now and not when these problems hit. But right now we're at the doorstep of this port strike. How will this affect us? There will be a domino effect that will affect pretty much everybody in the country on one level or another, similar to what happened when we had the supply chain problems during the whole pandemic. Now, we're going to play a video in just a moment here, but I want to set it up here from the head of the ILA, the union, International Longshore Association Union, so that you can get an idea where they're coming from on this. And then we'll break it down and talk a little more a bit about it afterwards. But before we play this, just consider this. Christmas is around the corner. We've already got inflation problems. We also are still in some ways coming back from some of the pandemic supply chain issues. And we know that was a long return back from that. And in some places, it's not 100% back. Now, also, we've got multiple states that have just been hit with a serious storm, a hurricane, and they need materials. They need rebuilding materials. They need food. They need equipment. They need things of this nature. Most of the stuff, a lot of it at least, comes in on ships. So this is a really tough time to be looking at the possibility of a strike. Now, there will be those out there who will say, well, they'll work something out, won't they? Or Biden will step in and do something, won't he? Because the government can step in because there is a need to keep the country moving. And you're talking about anywhere from $500 million to $1 billion a day lost if the ports shut down of economy for the United States. Very big deal. Also, it's harvest time. So you've got a lot of farmers that have crops that are going to be shipped out of the country to other nations. So this could be quite the conundrum, to put it mildly. Let's listen to the head of ILA and get his take on this. Then we'll come back and we'll talk about this a bit more. Here we go.
But today's world, it's changing into the future. They're not making millions no more. They're making billions. And they're spending it fast as they make it. I want a piece of that for my men, because when they made their most money was during COVID. When my men had to go to work on those piers every single day, when everybody stayed home and went to work. Not my men. They died out there with the virus. We all got sick with the virus. We kept them going. From Canada to Maine to Texas, Great Lakes, Puerto Rico, now the Bahamas, everybody went to work during COVID. Nobody stayed home. Well, I want to be compensated for that. I'm not asking for the world. They know what I want. They know what I want. And if they don't, well, then I have to go into the street and we have to fight for what we rightfully deserve. These people today don't know what a strike is.
Right.
When my men hit the streets, from Maine to Texas, every single port will lock down. You know what's gonna happen? I'll tell you. First week, be all over the news every night, boom, boom. Second week, guys who sell cars can't sell cars because the cars ain't coming in off the ships. They get laid off. Third week, malls start closing down. They can't get the goods from China. They can't sell clothes. They can't do this. Everything in the United States comes on a ship. They go out of business. Construction workers get laid off because the materials aren't coming in. The steel's not coming in. The lumber's not coming in. They lose their job. Everybody's hating the longshoremen now because now they realize how important our jobs are. Now I have the president screaming at me, I'm putting a Taft-Hartley on you. Go ahead. Taft-Hartley means I have to go back to work for 90 days. That's a cooling off period. Do you think when I go back for 90 days, those men are going to go to work on that pier? It's going to cost the company's money to pay their salaries. Well, they went from 30 moves an hour maybe to 8. They're going to be like this. Who's going to win here in the long run? You're better off sitting down and let's get a contract and let's move on with this world. And in today's world, I'll cripple you. I will cripple you, and you have no idea what that.
Yeah, now I know some would listen to that and look at that and think this guy's not looking at things very well. This guy's kind of he's mean. He's trying to dictate, manipulate, hold this entire country hostage, so to speak. I know that might be an attitude some would have. I can see both sides of this. Okay, I can see that, but I can also see where he's coming from. One major piece of this that he didn't address in that clip that we should be thinking about is they're concerned about automation. Now, automation is increasing in every sector. Machines have crept into taking over a lot of people's jobs. You ever been to a Walmart, other grocery stores? You ever walk into a general Walmart supercenter and see how many actual human beings are cashiers now? Like I can go to the one here in East Texas in the Tyler area. I can walk into any of them and I'll see maybe, and I'm not exaggerating, 2 people who are checking people out. And then there are 15 to 20, right, self-checkouts. So the automation of really moving things faster with machines, robots, and so forth actually is causing some people to lose their jobs. The longshoremen are concerned about that. I get that. That's actually one of their major points. He didn't mention it at this part of the clip, but when you look deeper into this, you'll see they're concerned because they've seen this happen in other locations. Now, automation has its place. It's important. There's no doubt. But he's thinking about trying to preserve work for his men long term. This is a 6-year contract I think they're working on. Okay, what's the point here, though? What we are going to encourage you to do, this is what we have on our hearts. I believe this with every fiber of my being, that God has put this on my heart. And for years, I have felt this way. And we all feel this way here who work at BRC, Be Ready Coalition, is to be ready. A coalition mindset, people coming together to be ready for these types of things, whether it's a strike, whether it's a natural disaster like Hurricane Helene or Hurricane Francine that just hit Louisiana not too long ago, or there's another storm that's brewing down south near the Gulf that could be a repeat of what just happened with Helene, or we've got wildfires, or we've got earthquakes, or we've got World War III, whatever it might be. It is on my heart to encourage you all to get ready for whatever, not in anxiety, but in a sense of peace and urgency, which means, how much should I get, Doug, when it comes to food, water, shelter? What should I do? How much money should I take out of the bank in case the banks close? Well, should I start storing up food and all kinds of goods because of this longshoreman strike that could happen in less than 24 hours? My answer to that is you got to pray about it and then take some strategic purchase type attitude steps to accomplish what you feel you need to accomplish. I always recommend things like a water filter, a med kit, a bug out bag, or a go bag, which again, click the link in the description below. This is not a gimmick. Go out, get that free download. Information is in the description below, brcoalition.com. This is a free go bag checklist. You click that link, it gets you a free checklist of items that get you started on being better prepared. For example, we had a flat tire on one of our cars here at the house. All right, my son was borrowing it. He's driving it down the street. All of a sudden, boom, he finds out, whoa, that front tire is flat. He pulls back in the driveway. Dad got a flat tire. Normally, you'd have to jack up the car, pull out the tire, pull down the spare, put that on and so forth. I pulled out the tire repair kit. It's a great little kit. We talk about this in BR Coalition. Okay, you find the nail, the screw, as long as it's not the wall of the tire and it's a flat surface, with the footprint part that actually rolls on the road. You get a screw or a nail or something that's straight in there. You can pull that out. You clean out the hole. You plug it with a patch. You air it back up with a portable air compressor, which you can buy for $60, $70. I keep it in the car, and it was fine. It was fixed. That's called preparation, though. It's steps like that we should be taking now. Now, because we see this longshoreman strike coming, it looks like it's going to. They're saying the first couple days, not going to be so bad. There'll be a little bit of effect. Maybe there will be some people who will jack up prices here and there, but shelves in general should be okay. A lot of people are stocking up on stuff. A lot of shipping containers are coming in even today because they're trying to load up on this because they've been seeing this coming for weeks and months in some cases. But after a few days, all the people that are in this system say that this is going to start trickling. Then you're going to find some things within a week. One grocery store chain says, we're not going to have any bananas on our shelves because stuff that's imported, fruits and such, and vegetables that are imported, a lot of those things are not going to be able to be kept, the fresh stuff on the shelves. You can't keep that stuff on the dock very long. You can't keep that in the warehouse very long. Okay, refrigerated stuff doesn't necessarily come in on ships so much, but what you've got, though, is a number of pieces here of this puzzle that will affect other pieces. There will be domino effect, and you will find that prices will start going up. There will be shortages. We might start seeing empty shelves. We saw that during the pandemic. We know this can happen if this goes on a week or 2 or 3. As that man said, the head of ILA said, you're going to see this start to become more of a problem. Now, some are thinking, what if I can't buy the right toys for my kids for Christmas? By Christmas time, if this is still going on, toys are probably going to be one of the last things we're thinking about. We're probably going to be looking more at basics like medical supplies or food in general. Now, again, there's a lot that we produce in the United States, but there's a lot that we don't. That's another issue that we could be talking about. And I want to bring this point up too. If we think that this is, just on the longshoremen and not the company heads that run, Maersk and the other shipping companies out there, I want you to go back a few years to the J.D. Rockefellers and the Biltmores and the Vanderbilts and the Carnegies and the J.P. Morgans back in the 1800s in particular with steel and railroads and kerosene and some of this sort of thing. If you look at the nature of what these men will do, men and women at that level, we're talking about financial billionaires, multi-billionaires, they don't have a problem. Some of them, I'm not judging hearts and souls, but you know that the same demons that would have tempted those men and women back in those days where they would shut down oil fields, they would shut down steel mills, they would shut down these things simply to raise the price of the product so they could make more money in the end, even though it meant tens of thousands of people being laid off. They will do that. They have done that. People still do that. So when this man, head of ILA, talks about the shipping companies making so much more money, billions of dollars off of this sort of thing, I realize, and we got to realize that is actually a possibility. That there are people out there who I don't know the heads of the shipping, companies, but I'm willing to bet that if those same spirit, if you will, the same spirit that would tempt a Rockefeller or a Carnegie, and there is evidence to what they did in order to squash the little guy so their profits could grow. It's all documented. Those same spirits that tempted them are tempting people today, you, me, and others, to be greedy and to be focused more on that than focused on the good of people. Ultimately, it's a spiritual battle. So when we hear St. Paul talk about we're not battling flesh, we're battling spirits, dark principalities, and so forth of the netherworld, what we're addressing is the reality that the battle between good and evil runs through the heart of every single man and woman. Let me say that again. The battle between good and evil runs through the heart of every single man and woman. Every single one of us has to deal with this. It takes good men and women to stand up and say, hey, we have to fight in the right ways, the appropriate ways, for the good things and for the betterment of society and such. But there are people out there who will crush little guys in order to make their profits or make their point. And so with that being said, let me wrap up this live with this reminder. We don't have control over certain things. Like we didn't have control over Helene, a storm that hit Florida, worked its way through Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, into Tennessee, even into Virginia, over 100 dead. That death toll will climb, according to the experts out there on the ground who are seeing the devastation of it. It's going to take, this is years and years of rebuilding. We don't have control over some of that stuff, but what we do have control over is, do I have a backup generator? Do I have a backup battery station? Do I have solar panels? Do I have a flashlight on me in case the power goes out and I can make sure my kids are kept reasonably comfortable and not terrified by the darkness? Do I have extra food, water? Do I have a bug-out bag in my car in case there's a serious problem and I'm stranded somewhere? I've got a backpack. Think of all the roads that were washed out during Helene, for example. And not in every case was someone washed away when that happened, but the roads were washed out. One man said there were 50 trees roughly down around his neighborhood, and every road going in and out of his neighborhood was washed out. He couldn't get in or out. Nothing could get in. He couldn't get out. So you're left with what you have right there at that moment. So you're in a situation, you can't get back home. Roads are washed out, whatever it might be. You've got a bug-out bag, an emergency bag in your car, and in that bag, you've got A, B, C, X, Y, and Z items that help you get through and help those with you, like your kids, your spouse, your loved ones, and so forth. But it takes steps now before the crisis hits for those things to be done. So again, brcoalition.com, click the link in the description, go get that free checklist. It's free, go get it. Look, I gotta say, I can't tell you enough how, as we do this work in BR Coalition, I'm a little more adamant today, I think, than I've been in the past. We watch these things unfold. We watch the news constantly with this sort of stuff. And whether it's the port strike or whether it's Helene or this new storm that's brewing down in the Gulf of Mexico, or whether it's the election coming up, we just had a big discount on our entire package of BR Coalition. We're probably going to run another short sale coming up soon on something, because look, things in the world are screaming at us to be better prepared. Spiritually, first and foremost, get to confession, get your prayer life in order, get that relationship with God in order, receive those sacraments, make sure that you are tight with God, cling to the Blessed Mother, make sure that that is first and foremost. But then after that, in addition to that, look at the natural steps that you can take to be better prepared. Whether it's a storm, they're calling it biblical. They're talking about the apocalyptic. That's a word that's been used several times with the devastation that has happened in some places, Florida, Georgia, North, South Carolina, Tennessee. They're talking about this, and we hear this a lot now because these things seem to intensify. I'm not even going to get into this ridiculous idea of climate change and that whole debate and discussion. Let's look at the reality of it. God says, if you turn your back on me, I can allow this stuff to happen, wake you up. So what we should be doing, number one, is getting our lives right with God first and foremost. Second, though, let's do everything naturally. The common sense that God gives us, common sense, along with our free will, is what allows us to take the steps that are necessary. Whether we like it or not, or feel like it or not, we got to realize what's going on in our world. And so we want to be ready, whether it's war, natural disaster, a strike that could affect us long term. Let's be better prepared. Why? Why? Because there are people counting on us. And God does call us to not be defeatists. All right? I hope and pray that this wakes up many more hearts and souls. And it's really sad to see tragedy be something that has to wake us up. But it's kind of like when they build a couple of new streets and there's a couple of intersections, and then before they actually put a street light in the intersection, unfortunately, there could be 3 or 4 car accidents. And this happened back in Lincoln, where I grew up in Nebraska, one particular intersection. They finally put a street light in there after 2 or 3 people, serious accidents, and there was 1 death at least. And then they decided, you know what, maybe we should put a street light there. So let's see what's coming. Let's look at the trajectory of things, and let's take the steps necessary now to be better prepared. All right, brcoalition.com. That is the website to go to. Link in the description below. Get this information out to other people. Let's encourage each other, raise the bar, deep prayer life, and then some good, positive, appropriate natural action, strategic purchase. Don't go into debt buying stuff. Don't max out your credit cards. Okay, don't do things like that. Make sure it's within reason. And then, of course, we've got to be clever, and ultimately we've got to trust God. After we've done with what we could, with what he gives us to do, we have to trust God. He'll take care of everything from there. But he does want us to take the right action in the right way. Okay. All right. Check out brcoalition.com. God bless and strengthen you all. We'll be back soon, probably later this week with another video, because there's a lot happening in the world right now. We want to help you be encouraged and be informed. So take care. We'll see you again